And away we go. It is Brendel's Breakdown featuring Chris LePore right here on BearcatJournal.com. That is brought to you by our good friends at the Job Center. The Job Center is a light industrial staffing agency owned by Kyle Decker and headquartered right here in Cincinnati. Our co-host, Chris LePore, joined the Job Center team in summer of 2023 as a national account manager. If you are connected to a company that uses staffing services, reach out to Chris. He will personally follow up with you about partnering in the mission to change lives. All right. I do have to. Wes said something tonight in his radio show I got to ask you about.
All right, let's hear it.
He said that after games, there is generally a 3-hour film session where the coaching staff breaks down everything that went right, everything that went wrong, et cetera, et cetera. And he said there are some people that have worked for him that have moved on in large part because of those 3-hour post-game film sessions. Was that, did you just I can't do this anymore. No more 3 hours after the game, coach. I'm out.
I'm probably, there was a stretch there. I know exactly what period of time he's referring to. There was a stretch there where it was a full staff thing. This is dating back to our Greensboro days, where everybody on the staff would come in and watch and do the film session. And 3 hours, sometimes it can be 3.5, 4 now. But I would say on average about 3. And games at 7, it's over at 9. We might start the film session at 10. I mean, we're talking it's 1, 2 a.m. by the time we're done. So yeah, physically it wears on you. But there was a stretch where, we weren't winning very much at this point in time. This was before we really had it going.
The beginning of the Greensboro era.
The beginning, the rocky times we had to persevere through. There was about a 10-game stretch where those film sessions were consolidated from entire staff to just Wes and I. And those were those were some of the defining moments of our relationship. We're doing it's really like a 5-man minimum to be able to chart everything and write down what clips you need to cut up. And so between him and I, we've got like these 5 sheets and we're trying to get it all down. I mean, it was a time. I will say that.
Just 2 young, wild, and crazy guys breaking down film until 3 a.m.
No doubt. I was a young man at this point, 22, 23 years old. He introduced me to a good Stella Artois. He introduced me to red wine. These became some defining moments of me becoming a man.
Oh, I love it.
The one-on-one 3.5, 4-hour film sessions.
I love
with the man himself. Grading the film. That we could do a whole segment on grading the film sometime. Maybe we'll save that.
That's a good summer. That's a good summer show. I mean, I'd like to keep this thing going a little. We don't have to do it every week in the summer. I know you're busy. Yep. Like every time I hit you up, like, when can we do the show? You're like, well, I'm working 15 hours today. But maybe we'll do it tonight when you get done with, your shows tonight. Which here we are Thursday night at 10:53.
Tonight, had to support my boys, my wife coaching the youth league team.
Your wife coaches your sons?
Oh, my wife coaches my sons. She coaches them up.
That's outstanding.
I'm just the cheerleader who sits there hanging out with my daughter. Nobody has any idea that I have any affiliation to coaching whatsoever. I'm just a random dad in the stands. It is hilarious. My youngest son.
How long are the film sessions with you and your wife?
Oh, I dissect the film at length afterwards. At length. There's a whole nother breakdown special that you know nothing about. But no, good night tonight. We got the win. Oldest son had a couple buckets. Youngest son, as long as he shoots a couple times, he's happy. So he doesn't hit the rim very often, but he got a couple up. We're good.
Love it.
We're good.
We have now talked for 5 minutes and not spoken about last night's game, not by accident. Well,
yeah.
Chris, the numbers, I don't know how much you've had to follow me on Twitter today.
I want your page a couple times.
I want your reaction to giving up 24 points in the final 6 minutes, which extrapolated over 40 minutes is a pace for 163 points in 40 minutes.
Yeah, the bell's going to ring here, and we are going to dive into some of the defensive technicalities and efforts that were just, frankly, below the bar.
Bring classes in session. Let's get to
And
it.
I can imagine that the film session Coach Miller was referring to at Montgomery Inn, I am sure it was not the most pleasant this time around. I'm going to say it went a little over the 3 hours. But let's dive in. So from a preparation standpoint, baseline out of bounds is something that Coach Miller spends a lot of time on from a film standpoint with the players, and from a walkthrough standpoint with the players. So very rarely will you see Cincinnati give up a layup or a quick shot baseline out of bounds.
He's running into John.
Yeah. Not a great start here, but
He's running into his own guy.
To preface, this is a situation we usually don't give up our butt here. Day-Day's job is supposed to take away the backside so that everybody else can be aggressive, fight through screens. We want the ball to be thrown backwards here, which ends up being the result, which is good. We're locked in to the scouting element here. I picked this clip because I thought this was one of our better defensive possessions of the game. You can see we have a little pep to our step here. You can see Dan's closeout has a high hand. John is pressuring the ball. We look pretty good here on defense. Pretty good ball screen D by Jamil. John gets back in front. Overall, we look pretty good here. And sometimes it's the possessions where you play great defense. Look, we get a deflection, almost get a steal. One-on-one post defense, under 5 seconds on the shot clock. Sometimes these are the ones where you play great defense for 25 seconds and give up a fadeaway over a contest that can injure your will a little bit. And that sets up what's to come defensively. You touched on it, but the second half defense was really, really bad. And you'll see this is so from a scouting standpoint, obviously teams will have anywhere from 20 to 40, some 60 plays in their playbook. You can't teach the team all 60. You probably pick 4 or 5 concepts and a couple hitters out of those concepts that the team is going to memorize. This is a set play that they definitely covered, because anything that can give up a layup, they're going to cover that. So you see here, a couple things go wrong. First thing is what we're taught. Anytime your man passes the ball on defense, you should jump towards the ball. So we don't necessarily see Day-Day really jump towards the ball there. And if you don't jump towards the ball, you set yourself up to get screened. That's why they teach it. On this back screen here, the teaching point is Day-Day's got to get through it. And John Newman, whose man is setting it, has got to protect the basket until Day-Day gets through. Neither one of those things happen. The last thing that can save you in this situation is ball pressure. And we just don't see enough of it from Jamil here guarding the ball. So when all 3 things go wrong, I mean, we try to make a play on it and goaltend, but that's how you give up wide open layups. This can't happen in the second half of a Big 12 game.
Was that a goaltend?
I mean, I slow-mo'd it. I think it hit the backboard.
Okay.
The
only thing I didn't like was that the guy at center court called it on a play that was all the way across and opposite him at the rim.
Right.
The guy that was closest to it didn't call it. The second guy closest to it didn't call it. The guy that was standing at the scorer's table 55 feet away called it. That annoyed me a little.
Called it in from the peanut gallery. I can understand that. Yep. Yep. All right. So we're going to watch some clips here from the UCF game, and you're going to see
Let's
possessions like
go.
this. And the ball pressure you're going to see here in a couple clips at UCF, we're going to be all up in this guy's stuff. You see here, we're in a little bit more of a relaxed, comfortable, playing back in our heels defensive position. And we're just not being the aggressor here. We're letting them run their stuff. And what our identity has become is, obviously, we don't have a guy that can just go get 20 plus every night on offense. We got
Right.
to win the game on this end of the floor. And to do that, we've got to be ultra aggressive and not allow teams to just run their stuff. And when they're running their sets and we're being passive, it's hard to guard, especially for 30 seconds every time down. So ball screen defense here, not bad by Jamil and Jizzle. This is just a pretty simple positioning thing. So we have a ball screen here. What we want to see is CMOS in between man and ball. He's really flat here, kind of standing next to his man. If he's up here, one, this becomes a really dangerous pass that you don't want to throw. And two, his recovery time to get to the shooter be a lot easier to get to his shooting hand than standing in your heels waiting for the ball to come to you. And so it looks really simple, like they just passed it and shot a three. We shouldn't be allowing a pass from the wing to the corner with our defensive principles of being aggressive and getting a
Right.
hand in the passing lane.
Right.
So this comfortable catch and shoot shouldn't happen ever. And it's just a little too comfortable down the stretch in the second half. All right, coming out of the under 12 media, you see that this is the type of ball pressure we want here. Want to make things tough. All right, ball screen D. And Jizzle had himself a night on defense. All right, this clip started it, and there's about
Not great, Bob.
About 4 clips right after this where he looked like a freshman on defense. And that's part of the deal, right? There's going to be some moments where they look like a freshman, and he had a stretch here. All right, let's talk about this ball screen. Now, the offense, we've talked a lot about this when we're covering offense. Handoff into a ball screen is really hard to guard. So that's what you see here. Handoff into a ball screen, tough to guard, a lot to communicate. Okay, Jizzle gets hit by the screen. We want him to defeat the screen. Aziz is in decent position. When the ball is coming at you as the big man, you're taught to square it off and kind of backpedal to square it off and make this shot go over your chest. The one thing you can't do in this situation is lunge forward, gamble for a steal, because these guards are good. They're going to dribble right by you. You can see there's the lunge reaching for the steal, and it's a layup. Not going to cut it on defense. Ball screen D's just got to be better. All right, again, ball pressure. All right, we're not the aggressor right here. We let this pass comfortably get to the elbow. I mean, that's going to be the first thing they talk about when they watch this clip. How in the world can they just comfortably catch the ball at 16 feet? Should be impossible against our defense. And then I'm sure this is something that Jamil and Dan, this one probably got frozen a couple times right here. Hey, guys, we've got a back screen going on. Jamil, you've got to call it out, recognize it, and help at the rim. And Dan, you've just got to get through it, man. You can't hit that thing. We're playing defense. You got to get through this screen. Jamil's got to help. Again, the last thing that can save you is ball pressure, and CMOS is just not giving enough. This is like, an AAU set.
Bad.
That's just really, really bad defense. We're not alert to guard the screen. We're not fighting through the screen, and the ball pressure is just not there. That's just too easy, man. There's nobody within 5 feet of him.
I mean, I remember specifically on that possession going, what the, like, that doesn't make any sense to happen against how this defense is supposed to play.
Yeah, and
that's,
time and score too, right?
It's inexcusable.
No doubt. Time and score. We're at home. 5 minutes to play. You got a chance to win a Big 12 game. You're
up 5.
You want to see the fire. And I think that's what coach is begging for as they show that clip on film. All right, let's get to the next one. Pretty good ball screen defense here. You'll see John Newman, who helps and then recovers to contest the shot. Obviously, an elite defensive player. We don't execute on the rebound. They're crashing pretty good here. We got to find a way to get this rebound 2-on-1.
Yeah.
Don't get the rebound. Okay, now, this is what we call a scramble situation in practice. We practice it all the time. We have multiple drills that call for this exact situation. Stuff happened. It didn't go our way. We've now got to have a crazy sense of urgency to get matched up and figure out this transition, this scramble. John's got to be talking, I got here, I got ball. Everybody's got to figure out who they got now because it's a scramble situation. You can't just stand next to your man. And you'll see what happens. There's 5 guys on the perimeter, and we've got Jamil just kind of standing there in no man's land. And we're trying to get matched up. That's a pregame warm-up shot right there.
Yeah.
To cut it to 2 points under 5 minutes, that hurts. So obviously we want to get the rebound. We played good enough defense to get a stop. We got to get the rebound. We don't get it. We got to scramble, figure it out, and contest the shot. So just not good there. All right. Under 4, up 2. We desperately need a stop. You can see we have a little pop right now. This is what we call defeating a handoff, defeating a toss, whatever you want to call it. Day does a really good job making that handoff dangerous. Now we've got ball screen defense. Looks okay right now. It looks like Aziz is trying to communicate. Okay. Looks like we're maybe switching. This is somewhat of a, Day gets caught up on the rescreen. We've got to figure it out. All right. We get that sorted out, figured out. We're okay right now. 14 seconds left on the shot clock. Another ball screen. Do a great job there. Aziz gets up aggressive. Day is applying good ball pressure. We look great. Now, on this reject right here, you'll see Aziz start to help. Day's not beat. So that help, he feels like he's helping the play. We'd love to get a little bit from Dan here too. Just faking at him, not lunging. Just too much help here from Aziz when it's not needed. Day's not beat. He's still in front. And that is just too much space for a good 3-point shooter.
Well, hold on. Timeout. I do it. He had made 3 3-pointers in Big 12 play. Is there is there a thing where you can help a little bit more off of this guy, but still you don't want to give that's a practice 3. Like I 1,000%
rule of thumb is
you.
Rule of thumb is you can't give up the practice, the warm-up threes.
Right.
The scout would be you want to play guys like this straight up. Anybody's capable of making a wide open one at the top of the key.
Sure.
If they're a really driver first guy, maybe you're okay with this closeout. But inside out, warm up level 3, you hope the percentages play in your favor, right?
Who are we fooling with that contest from the free throw line?
Right.
Aziz, I know you're big and long. You're not impacting that shot. It's not a hand down, man down situation.
Yeah. So again, I think overall,
what's that? 8 feet away. That was a contest.
Yeah, and again, I think they probably had him in the scout as a capable shooter, not a knockdown guy, right? So he's not having a crazy sense of urgency. But the job center splash for cash kid out of the stands makes that one a couple times.
I said you could have put that one in.
Yeah, I'm knocking that down. Come on now. So I think overall defensively, what you're seeing is just a lack of that sense of urgency, ball pressure, and communication, whether it's a scramble situation, ball screen situation. And it's just got to be better. especially at home. All right,
I have
now
a
we're going to.
question for after the UCF stuff that I think is I'm fascinated to hear your answer.
Yeah, sure. All right, UCF, let's just take a look. Let's go back. Obviously, trailed early in this game. It wasn't perfect, but I think what you'll see watching a couple of these clips is just a different level of intensity guarding the basketball. I mean, look at Jizzle here. Meets him at 25, 30 feet from the basket. Pretty good ball pressure. Seamoss moving his feet, cutting people off. Dan with a great closeout. Bites a little bit on the shot fake. You see Josh is supporting the drive. Aziz is in position to contest. Verticality, really good. And then you'll see the second effort too by Aziz on the dump off. Didn't see a lot of second effort plays in the last one against Oklahoma State. All right, ball screen D. Look at the effort to defeat the screen here. Aziz calls it out. Dan defeats the screen. Josh again supporting. And look at this ball pressure. I mean, we're in his shirt.
Yep.
Love to see that. Great defense. And they practice this and talk about this all the time. Sometimes the ball is just going to get there. How can we make shots go over our chest instead of fouling? And more times than not, the result is good. Again, look at the ball pressure. Look at the hands, the activity. The ability to defeat the handoff by John Newman. We're active. You see Dan Skillen's giving us a little something on the drive here. And again, the ball gets to the middle of the floor, which is not ideal. But look at John getting his chest in front of it, making this a really tough shot. And we grab that one and go. So, again, I just think you saw a different level in terms of sense of urgency and making shots go over the chest. That's the goal.
So here's the question.
What do you got for me?
As a coach, is there some level of awareness of the human nature of playing the last place team in the league? Because when you do that in the American, you're generally going to have way more talent than the other team, and you're going to be able to overcome that. Oklahoma State had a bad start to the Big 12. That is a team with a couple McDonald's All-Americans. And that was my fear, especially after watching what they did to BYU.
Right.
And, oh, no, these guys I've liked watching them all season because I think Boynton has them playing a fun brand, especially offensively, a fun brand of basketball. They haven't always been good at it, but you could see the pieces coming. And my concern going into this game was defensively, they're not going to take them seriously enough. And boy, did it, and the clips show it. The ball pressure wasn't there. The help wasn't there. The energy, the second effort on defensive plays.
No doubt.
I think we saw it some. You probably saw this going through the clips. Like on some of the 6 block shots they had, there was some of that, but it wasn't consistent. They weren't connected defensively at any rate close to what they were against a lot of the top teams in the league. They took their foot off the gas. It was very clear to me, and the clips show exactly what I felt watching the game.
Oh, no doubt. I think it's one of the hardest things from the coach's seat is battling that human nature. And, I think it's probably a little different when, it's 1 versus 10. Like probably are in the same quadrant or whatever you want to call it as, Oklahoma State going into that game. And I think we just felt at home that we were just going to win that game, right? I think
Right.
everybody probably felt we're just going to find a way to win this game.
The fans felt like we're going to win that game. The
No
players
doubt.
felt
I
we're
mean,
going to win that game. But
watching it, it felt like even still we were going to figure out a way to win it. But just did
the
not come
energy
to fruition.
wasn't where it needed to be defensively.
Yeah,
The effort wasn't where it needed to be defensively. And I think that's always in the back of your mind. We're good enough we can play like crap and still beat this team. Just because you see last place in front of their name. This ain't last place in your high school league. This ain't last place in JUCO. This is last place in the best league in the country. And if you don't get after it, they're going to score 80 points and shoot 56% on you.
No doubt. I mean, I go back to what happened last year in the Big 12. West Virginia finished 8th at 7-11, and then they go into the NCAA tournament and are, a buzzer beater away from advancing, right? I mean, these teams at the bottom are really good. They can go win a tournament game.
Somebody pointed this out on Twitter today. Guess what? No, it was Boynton last night. It was Mike Boynton last night. There's been so much happen. Last night, West Virginia, Bob Huggins, Hall of Fame, unquestioned Hall of Fame head coach, in the past 7 years has finished last in this league. Last. Not middle of the pack, not 7-11 and still made the tournament. Last in this league. It's not for the faint of heart.
No question.
And if you don't bring it, if you're not at the top of your game, you are going to lose. Well, guess what? Doing that for 18 games is so much harder than people realize.
Oh, absolutely.
So much harder than people realize. Well, look, they're my favorite team, and I love them. And, I bought, 2 cases of Cincinnati Light or Cincy Light last week. So I have donated $4 to NIL.
That means you're an NIL donor.
And I'm holding these guys accountable. They're getting paid, and they need to be held accountable. The point being, it's just really hard to be at the top of your game for 18 consecutive games. And it is human nature, and coaches know. You guys fight against it. You do everything you can to tell them in those days leading up to that game,
no,
these guys are not bad.
No.
They will get you if you are not 100% all in.
Oh, trust me, you've got it in the film session. You're finding the best plays you can find for the personnel. I mean, if I'm putting together the edit, Oklahoma State is looking like the Monstars.
They might win the Big 12 tournament.
Oh, I mean, you're going to make them look so good. There's no way there's any doubt that these guys can hoop. So, you try it all, but I think ultimately they're going to look back at that one and just know that our effort wasn't there. And that hurts. That hurts more than any execution thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, let's roll back the tape to some TCU. One of the better games all year that we've played on offense, and really, we got easy shots, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to see more of this down in Fort Worth. I will be there.
Nice.
All right, this is a set play. Setting up a backdoor here for Dan to operate on that baseline as he always does. All right, you see CMOS doing a little acting, pretending to go set this down screen, and then just kind of getting out of the way so that his man isn't able to sniff it out. Like to see a little more acting from Aziz here because his man does ultimately end up sniffing it out and helping. So would like to see him getting out of the action, maybe throwing up a fist to pretend to set a screen as well. But really nice setup by Dan to make him think he's coming off this handoff. Backdoor cut, doing what he does best on the baseline.
Yep.
And you'll see, I mean, there was probably, I had like 10 clips to choose from where we're getting point blank shots at the rim in this one. All right, we've talked about this set a lot when we talk Cincinnati offense, where we drive it hard to the right side, we sprint somebody to the corner, and then we set this screen for Victor to get the layup. This is a wrinkle out of that set where it's not for the layup. It's actually for this back screen. He fakes the screen for Victor, and sets the back screen for Aziz. We've run this plenty of times. It usually ends up with CMOS at the top of the key with the ball because a lot of times the lob is not there. Ball pressure is good. Sniff it out, and we end up with that top of the key ISO. This is the first time we got it, which was awesome to see. But again, just getting easy ones at the rim, right? Just really executing the little details of the acting that goes into the set plays, the setup that goes into the set plays, the screening, the timing. Everything was clicking on offense in this one. Hope to see more of that. Again, another set play here by design. Concept here is to get the ball reversed to Dan. We'll have a bunch of action over here with a stagger away screen, a back screen for John. So he has an option to use it either way, really to clear out all that fake action going on over here to clear out this baseline for Dan or whoever it is on this wing to operate. That's exactly what they get to. Easy basket. Hopefully we can get some more easy looks like that. Just thought the execution in that game offensively was really tight, and hopefully can replicate that out in Fort Worth. I will be there with a group from the job center hosting some clients. Should be a fun time. Flying out tomorrow.
All right. Love it. Love it.
Let's get back in the wing column.
Yeah. I was going to invite you to the Grail, watch party at the Grail this weekend, but you're occupied. So
thanks for the invite, man.
You're more than welcome to show up if things, you can't make it to Dallas.
All right, man. Class is dismissed.
Class is dismissed. We will see you next week, hopefully with better clips and better, more fun things to show you. But at TCU, at Houston, go be an interesting week in Texas.
Texas stretch. Let's get it done, man.
We will see you next time. That is Brendel's Breakdown. The labeling of this show is wrong. It should be LePore's Breakdown. I don't really break down shit, but you guys know that by now. We'll see you next time. Thanks to the Job Center. This is The Breakdown right here on BearcatJournal.com.